up against. And we are live. So, welcome to episode 194 of
Ooh, getting
American
close.
Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here. Thank you
My pleasure.
for taking the time once again to stop by and hang out and talk some horror.
Always.
Yeah, man, it is good to be back talking horror after an entire summer of sci-fi fantasy. I was feeling the itch by the time we got to RoboCop last week or 2 weeks ago. And so here we are post Labor Day. You know, the summer is sort of over. Fall is sort of on the way. We are in the middle of a scorching heat wave right now. The lawns are just scorched, so that's some good news. But I mean, it's just some indication of, you know, what kind of heat we're having right now. But you know, I'm already starting to see the Halloween stuff coming out. You know, decorations. I went to Walmart the other day. I'm not proud of it, but I was there, and you know, they had the full, you know, Halloween DVD collections out.
Yep.
I owned most of them. Except for the Scream. I was thinking about buying the Scream collection just for shits and giggles. But I think one of the streaming channels I have has the whole collection.
Well, you got the first word right, so
Which
shit. So
shit show. Yeah. Shits and giggles. Yeah. Being back though with horror, it is Werewolf Wednesday, and what better way to kick off our return to horror with a werewolf than with a werewolf movie. And it occurred to me that there are so many werewolf films out there. We've said this many times, and so many of them are just absolute shit.
Yeah.
That when you it's almost steeple shaped. You know, by the time you get to the top, there's room for very, very few films. And so when you come to what I would consider to be a decent werewolf film, that's a memorable occurrence. And many years ago, I was sitting on my couch. This was at least 15 years ago on a rainy Sunday, shitty Sunday. And, you know, there I was. And, hey, you know, I don't know if you remember the old Encore channels.
Yeah.
It was like Encore, 1 p.m. on a Sunday, rainy, you know, Sunday. Oh, a werewolf movie is starting. What is this, Ginger Snaps? I've never heard of this before. It's the God's truth. And I sat down and just was like, what the fuck is this? And I've been trying to talk to people about this movie for at least 15 years with mixed results, because most people have seen Ginger Snaps or Ginger Snaps 2, but nobody seems to have seen Ginger Snaps Back. And this was the one that I want to talk about. And because people had mixed feelings about the first two, they never got to the third one. And I'm like, fuck, man, you know, it's like an impossible, you know, distance to clear in people's minds.
I'm guilty, man. I had only seen the first one, and I wasn't really a fan. I mean, I may have saw it too late. It may have been, you know, super overhyped to me when I sat down and watched it. I enjoyed some of it, but overall, it just wasn't for me. The first one.
It's a teenage high school sex werewolf kind of movie, you know, and the weird girls, I think, that are into witchcraft or something, you know, one of them becomes a werewolf, the redhead.
Yeah.
You know, and then they become very popular.
Yeah, she becomes the popular girl, you know, because, you know, she gets bitten and, you know, changes like her pheromones or some stupid coming of age bullshit stuff. You know what I mean? If you want a coming of age story, watch like Stand By Me or something like this, not Ginger Snaps. You know what I mean?
Or Teen Wolf.
Or you know what? At least I can fucking have a good time with Teen Wolf with how stupid it is and self-aware. I think Ginger Snaps, the original, was just trying to be too goddamn serious. You know what I mean? With teenagers. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't enjoy it. So I didn't even bother with part 2 because I figured why. And you have been on my butt probably for, oh God, probably maybe at least a year to get to this prequel. And I'm glad that because we planned on doing it maybe a handful of months ago, and then like schedules.
I think before we started the sci-fi fantasy, so sort of
Mm-hmm,
like post Memorial Day,
mm-hmm,
something down there, and we ended up having to kick the can.
right.
But here we are, and I personally have only seen the first and second one. I own them both. I only own them because I saw this one first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't seen them since.
Okay.
Saw them once, and that was it. We're talking about Ginger Snaps Back. Are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Boogity boogity. So, before we get started into any details, let me get your first impressions. You seeing it for the first time, you coming into the stream 30 seconds before we went on. We've had no opportunity to discuss this film at all. What did you think of Ginger Snaps Back, the beginning? Because I touted it.
Mm-hmm.
I said it could give Dog Soldiers a run for its money. I probably overstated that a bit. But it's a solid fucking werewolf movie. I just finished it again this morning. Let me know what you're thinking now, first time viewer.
I finished it like maybe 20 minutes before I came on. I will say this: I don't think it's equal to Dog Soldiers, but this was a lot better than I was expecting. I love how it's a period piece. Honestly, we'll probably get into. I love how there's not that many werewolves until the end.
Yeah.
Because me, we've discussed it here, and especially when John's are on, less is more.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting great performances because I'm not a huge Catherine Isabel fan. I'm not a big fan of Brandon Fletcher, but he's hardly in the movie. I thought I was pretty impressed with what Catherine did as Ginger this time around. I got to give credit where credit's due.
This is the origin of the Ginger Snaps story. That occurs somewhere around the beginning of the 19th century, like 1815, and they're in Canada. This was filmed back to back with Ginger Snaps 2. It was filmed they were both filmed, together. Canada is not really a country that's known for horror.
Right.
But I just thought it was this great. It's made 2 years after Dog Soldiers. So I can't say that Dog Soldiers 2002, this is 2004. I can't say that the siege sort of setting is original because that's what Dog Soldiers really is. It's a siege story. The guys are trapped in the house, and being attacked by werewolves. Here it's a little different. It's a trading fort. You never really understand where the girls come from. I kind of like that aspect of it. You don't really know who they are. This is supposedly, almost like a native mythology of the Wendigo.
That's what got me really interested. Like that opening on narration by Bridget. And what I do like about this movie is because it's a period piece and because it takes place so long before the other films, you don't really have to know anything about Ginger Snaps 2. You don't have to own them. You can this can be a standalone film. And that's what I like about it too.
Right. You've got this story of these two girls that just they're rolling through the woods on a horse. And they're cold and they're kind of on their last leg, and roll into this Native American camp. Occupied by one old woman who is, foretelling, what their story is going to be. They are the red and the black, this sort of mythology with this dire sort of warning to kill the boy.
Yes.
You have to kill the boy in order for, you to survive, or else everybody is just going to suffer if you don't do this sort of thing. I like the setting. It's very bleak. It's very overcast. It looks cold. I mean, I think this thing was shot in 29 days.
And that's one thing I like about like the cinematography. You feel cold, when you're seeing them, just the two of them in the very beginning on the horse, before they get to the camp and before they meet the Native American woman. You feel cold, and you can feel what they're feeling, and that's what I thought was really, really good.
And there's this steady progression throughout the story where the one sister says, "I'm cold." And so it starts out with, "I'm cold," and then Ginger says, "Me too." Me too. And then, they sort of go away from the camp because they're... is that how it works? She steps, the one girl steps into the bear trap, and you can see her leg trapped there. And bear traps always sort of get my attention when I thought it was kind of bullshit that her leg didn't like snap in half.
Well, it depends. I've heard stories. It depends. Like we've seen many different bear traps. We've seen the ones that have the jagged edges, of some that are just flat. It's not necessarily to make you bleed out, but it's to just incapacitate you, for the hunter.
You can't move. You can't move. Yeah, they really are quite fucking cruel. I don't believe that they still use them anymore.
I hope not.
They're actually quite awful and barbaric. But this girl, and for some reason I can't think of her name, gets herself the character's name. There's Ginger and
Bridget.
Bridget gets trapped in this bear trap. The Ginger goes to run for help, comes back, and suddenly there's this Native American guy. Now, there's a lot of overlap between the three movies using the same characters over and over again. So many of the characters for this have been in the previous movies playing other roles. I don't know if that's simply a matter of convenience or whether they were trying to say, that these people have been repeating these roles throughout, in this sort of intertwine here and there. What did you think of the Native guys? It's a little on the nose. I wasn't even sure he was Native. I think he's like Latino.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the best casting because I thought I'm like he looks more Mexican than he looks Native American, but
especially up in Canada.
Yeah, well, Canada. That's where they always go to Canada because it's cheaper to film there. Especially in the horror genre. But I liked the addition of like the Native Americans in this. I liked their folklore and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because it made it more of instead of just a werewolf. You know what I mean? It made it more of like a legend type of thing. And I really liked that. And I liked how he didn't have a name. He was just called the Hunter.
The Hunter, yeah. And he ends up trying to help them by bringing them to the most fucked up place in the woods. They probably would have been better if they had just been sent on their way, but they lose the horse that they're on, and they end up going to this fort. I love the design of the fort.
Yeah.
It just looks like it has been hacked at and gnawed at. There are crosses everywhere. I mean, the set design for this particular fort, I just thought was great because it just looks like it's been in a siege.
It's definitely.
It looks like it's been involved in a siege of werewolves.
Yeah, like you want to know. I mean, if you have, how do I say this? If you have no idea what a Ginger Snaps movie is, you're going to wonder what the hell have they been trying to keep out of this fort.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember if the first time I watched this, they may have had a description as to what the movie is, or I might have just started watching it.
Okay.
And say, holy shit, what the hell? Because the mood here is like super thick and intense. you know, and a lot of time werewolf movies try to capture that, and it either comes off campy or it's funny
Mm-hmm.
or it tries to be serious and it fails. This movie is not perfect, but it's better than a lot of them.
Yeah, we've mentioned that before. Like it's hard to find a werewolf movie that isn't trying to be fucking goofy. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about Teen Wolf. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's an '80s comedy, through and through. You
it's a
know,
comedy. Yeah,
yeah, American Werewolf in London. People forget that's a horror comedy. You know what I mean? They just think about the scary stuff, but there's a lot of comedy to it. Um, Even Howl at its moments had some goofy stuff to it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There really, to me, I couldn't place any comedy in this one. I think this one was done pretty straight.
yeah. Yeah, it had a very serious tone. I think there was some inadvertent comedy one time when, like, Ginger says, "These people are fucked." you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah, and you're just like, "Yeah, they are,"
Hmm.
because you've just got these fucking. You put these two. There's no way this could win. This could work because you put these two young, pretty girls
Hmm.
inside a fort of guys that are just all fucked in the head
Yep.
for one reason or another, and you're just like, this is a recipe for disaster.
Hmm.
You've got the one guy, the sergeant major, or Mr. Wallace, and he's in charge, and he seems fairly straightforward.
Hmm.
But then you've got the sergeant major, who's just a bully and a douche and a racist.
Hmm.
You've got the doc who's like sniffing chloroform. So he's, overly medicated. He's not sober. You've got the preacher.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got like this Calvinist fucking preacher in there who just thinks everything is hellfire and
Hmm.
damnation. And this what's happening is God's, somehow it's their fault.
And now we're bringing women into our area, and that's going to make it worse.
Yeah, yeah. It's a hell of a mix.
Hmm. Yeah, and I liked that because you could tell by the body language and by the acting. That's what I'm saying. I've seen Catherine Isabel in a lot of stuff, and it's pretty much mainly horror.
What
I'm
else
not a
has she
huge.
been in?
She's been in, she's in a movie called American Mary, which is actually pretty decent. She's been in the See No Evil sequel with Kane, the WWE wrestler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's been in with Daniel Harris. She's been in Freddy versus Jason. She one movie that I do like that she's in is called Disturbing Behavior with
I've
Katie
heard about that.
Holmes.
Okay.
That one's kind of like the Stepford Wives, but with teenagers.
Okay.
I personally think she's there more for her looks and her acting ability, but she surprised me here. And Elizabeth Perkins, who plays Bridget, I only know her from the It miniseries from 1990, the one with Tim Curry. She was the young Beverly in that. But I think,
was she?
yeah, she was,
Oh, okay.
and she was good there. And I liked her in the first Ginger Snaps. So I think this being the third movie, they have that chemistry,
Hmm.
and I think how do I say this? Because, I don't think Catherine Isabel is that great. When you have somebody that you can work off of, that improves your acting skills. And I think her working with Elizabeth is really, really good. And it helped her, especially with her body language. You can tell how uncomfortable these two girls are
Yeah.
in this situation. You can tell that they're outsiders, they're not wanted, they're scared for their lives, but they're still kind of trying to put on this front until they're like in the rooms just with the two of them, when they let their real emotions out, like their fear and all that stuff out.
Yeah, they cling very tightly to each other.
They have a good bond. Yeah.
They have a good bond. Bridget clings very tightly to Ginger.
Hmm.
Ginger tries to be the stronger of the two, but you can see that clearly they are a little intimidated
Hmm.
by their surroundings. They don't know what to make of this. And at no real point, does anybody seem to kind of reassure them? You
Hmm.
get to the dock with the leeches.
Yeah.
And you kind of figure out, okay, he wants to see if something's going on. No one will explain to them
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's happening, and they're okay at that point. But pretty much the first night it goes well. I mean, we could also talk about the dinner scene.
Yeah, that was just to me, it was just like very awkward for them. Like they were there, and I did like how you could tell they were starving. Like the way Catherine Isabel, she just shovels all that food in her mouth. And I don't remember who it was, if it was the doctor who said, enjoy it while you can, because sooner or later we're basically going to run out of it.
Yeah, because basically what has happened is that I think once a year, people leave the fort to go meet the trading ships,
Mm-hmm.
Deliver what it is they have to deliver for money,
Mm-hmm.
pick up supplies that they need for the Canadian winter, and
Mm-hmm.
then bunker down for the winter until the spring comes. But all the men that have gone out have been missing for 2 months.
Right.
And so none of them have come back. Supplies are low. The winter is on, and
They're just lack of food.
yeah,
They know it's going to be a rough winter. They got to wean themselves off so they can survive food wise.
yeah. And so I mean, what we're talking about is really happening within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe very much on the first night, Ginger gets bit.
Yes, she wakes up and she hears some noise, and then that's when she walks in and oh, this was fucked up. She saw the little boy.
Yeah.
And again,
Right.
like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I figured she's gonna see something that she doesn't want to see, but I wasn't expecting seeing the little boy and the way they had his face. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if he's like halfway into werewolf transformation, and then he just hauls off, and it's off screen. But he also, you hear a scream, and he also just like bites her like right in the shoulder blade or something like that.
Yeah, like in the shoulder and the collarbone.
Yeah.
Talk, if you could, for a second about what you thought of the practical effects that you saw, because these are all practical effects. There is no CGI. Like you said, you saw it with the boy, and there are some documentaries and behind the scenes kinds of things, what they did with the makeup, and then, how they, half of his face is, sort of wolfed out. And then, it was just this empty space where his mouth could be. And then they just sort of stuck these protruding teeth sort of out. So like his entire mouth is just, it's really gross.
I'll tell you what, I was, this is the third Ginger Snaps movie. And I believe this one was straight to video.
Yes.
So that says something. It's Canadian horror. That really says something. I couldn't believe how good taking those into consideration, how good the practical effects were. Yeah. Not just for, because, I'll jump ahead a little bit, but not just for Wolf Boy, however we want to call him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when the werewolves are right there in full like wolf out mode, they look really good. They look really scary. The blood, there's not a lot of blood in this movie until like the final 10 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But when you have people getting clawed, bitten, you see the aftermath. Holy shit, I was fucking impressed.
Yeah.
I was expecting very, very cheap looking type of horror movie, violence, and this stuff was really, really good.
Yeah, I was very impressed by it. We should mention that this film, because it's 2004, so if you haven't seen it by now, you're going to hit some spoilers. There's no transformation.
Right.
I've talked so many times about how one of the key things in a werewolf movie is the transformation. You don't have any of that here.
It's very subtle. It's very subtle because not Bridget, Ginger, she's going through her. Well, she's not transforming, but she's throwing up blood. She's looking weak in that. You pay attention, her fingernails are getting longer.
Yeah, and long and black. Her hair is getting kind of...
It's like shaggy and disheveled. And then eventually, if you got to pay attention, it's a really good shot. She's right next to Bridget, and you see she's starting to get fangs. You know what I mean? She's in the background. It's a great shot, but she's starting to get fangs. They don't focus on it. So it's very, very, very subtle until the very end when she shows up and she still hasn't like wolfed out. She's still humanoid, but she's got these she's got the protruding forehead, her eyes are a little bit sunken, but she's still humanoid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you have to kind of get a good look at to see what's happening with her. And I think because to a certain extent, until they cast them out, they really aren't kind of paying attention to them.
Right.
They're women, so they're kind of not noticing that she's already been bitten. This has been going on for a while now. But you're absolutely right. No transformation scenes. So I think, with a low budget like this, they actually got an opportunity to focus more on the finished project. And these men that are moving on all fours. I mean, the movement of the werewolves, very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, and like even just like when they're examining the dead werewolf and they find out, I don't know if it's a tattoo or something like that. They find out that it's one of their men.
The tattoo and the glass eye.
Yeah, I love that, the glass eye stuff. That was really, really cool. But even that, just that dead wolf, right? That looked so good when they put the wolf head on the spike outside the door. That looked really, really good. So I'm amazed with the practical effects, the gore, and the set design. You know what I mean? I don't know what the budget was for this, but whoever directed it and all that stuff, they were able to pinch every penny and make it worth it.
Yeah, and
in my opinion,
a shame, because this was released, I think, in 2004 at one horror festival, but then went directly to DVD. And I think because of that, people just haven't seen it.
Right.
This is better than The Howling.
Oh God, yeah.
This goes without saying, but it's better than a lot of other werewolf films out there. I was just thinking of another werewolf film that gets a lot of credit, and I was like, well, this is better than that, but I can't think of what it was. It wasn't Wolf, and it wasn't Howl, because I like Howl. I like Howl. But there was another one that I was thinking off the top, and I was like, well, this is better than that. But for some reason, it's not coming to me. Hold on a second. We got some comments here. We got Castellar Daniel Garcia. What's happening, man?
Hey.
Thanks for stopping in. He says, vicious female werewolf, male destroyer, and big bite. Yeah, if you get a chance, I should mention, we should have said this at the beginning. This movie is streaming right now on Tubi. And it's just sitting there. This should be a werewolf film that people are watching, and for whatever reason, it's just, I think, again, it's because of the mixed reaction to the first two movies. It never occurs to anybody that the third movie that went direct to video would be the best of the
third
three.
The third movie that is a prequel in the 1800s. You know what I mean? Of all things. This one, like I said, this one definitely blows the first one out of the water. It's not even a comparison to me.
Yeah. Slowly but surely, the men in the fort just start to get picked off. You have Finn, who gets bit, doesn't want to admit it.
That was a shock. That's Brandon Fletcher. See, when I saw the credits, you already said, dog soldiers, and I'm like, okay, that's given some praise. And then I saw the credits, Catherine Isabel, I knew her and my feelings. But then when I saw Brandon Fletcher, I'm like, that's Uwe Boll's like go-to guy, if you know Uwe Boll and his stuff. But he's in this movie for literally 10 minutes, and he's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
I never thought I would say it about this guy, and I think it just depends on the direction he's given, because he's also in Freddy versus Jason, and he's fucking horrible.
I think there are some directors that can just get the most out of some people. And they say that about Zack Snyder and Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is not a great thespian by any stretch of the imagination. She is smokingly, almost like unbelievably beautiful.
Yes.
So you can just be mesmerized by that. But for some reason, when she's in a Snyder movie, he seems to be able to get the most of what's possible out of her. And so, with this director,
I loved this scene with the leeches because he knows he's fucked. Right when they walk in the room, and what are you doing? Killing leeches. Okay. Yeah, he knows he's fucked, and he's killing the leeches. You think about it, he's killing the leeches so they can't use it on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
he's got that one, and he's got the gun pointed at him. I think it's the doctor, the
Yeah.
one who's always sniffing the chloroform. Put the leech on you. Basically,
When
put
it's
the
someone
leech.
smoking, snorting chloroform.
Yeah, put the leech on. No, I don't want to. I don't want to. And again, Brendan is really good. And so this director has to be praised. But what I didn't expect was the reaction when he puts that leech on him, and it grows like 5 times its normal size, maybe bigger.
Yeah,
and
maybe
then
20 times. Yeah.
and he yanks it off, and then without a fucking thought, boom, taken out.
Blows the top of his head right off with a fucking musket ball.
Yep, I knew he wasn't going to make it, you know what I mean? But just the fact that there was no okay, here's we can help you type of thing, let's lock you away. No, just no second thought. Boom, he's gone.
And that's the thing about everybody in this fort. Everybody's in for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody's really working for, everybody's just this like group of 8 or however many individuals in there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of just a hierarchy of douchebags.
Yeah.
It's like the worst possible people that you'd want to be locked in there with. Do you want to talk about the first night? She gets bit. They're trying to escape. This is before Finn gets fucking, at the time that Finn gets schwacked, or the night before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just like, oh man, Well,
hold on. The siege is done, and what I thought, I just watched this today, and I'm like, this is so fucking impressive. The siege is basically done with no werewolves.
Yes.
And yet, when you hear those guys shooting from the rafters and that one guy saying, God help us, you feel it, man. I mean, it's like they're really in a fucking gunfight with werewolves.
The less is more. Like I said, I'm a color guy and I'm a sound guy when it comes to my movies in general. And if you can use the right sound effect, or in this case, guys screaming in the background with the gunfire, so you can just imagine what the hell's going on. And they, like I said, they do the perfect less is more with this due to the budget and this and that. And it just works perfectly. You know what I mean? Because it sounds like there's a fucking dozen of these guys, these creatures trying to get in.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this, because you're just imagining what it's like down there. You don't always need to see everything. That's why I like James Wan. You know what I mean? As a director, he's perfect. Less is more. He knows tension. He knows sound and all this and that. That's how this is. And I love it, because you don't have to see the blood and the gore and the action. You can just imagine it.
But I mean, you don't even see the creatures.
Right.
You don't even see the creatures. Like when that one guy gets pulled through and they're trying to pull him back and he's kind of getting ripped in half. And then the one guy has to eventually cut the strap that's kind of holding him onto the one stem part of the protruding part of the fence, and they have to let him go. And that's how Finn ends up getting scratched or bit or
It reminded me of like the beginning of Jurassic Park when the raptor gets that one guy. You know what I mean? You don't have to see that much, but that shit's on.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that somehow, I don't know, that, the other films were better, because this is pretty fucking good. I mean, I'm trying to think if I would put this in a top 5. I might.
It's tough, like, because then you'd have to like think of like 5.
Who would I move?
Yeah, 5 good werewolf movies. And I'm not talking about, again, like Teen Wolf or something stupid that. No. But like, do I want to go with, Chaney's The Wolfman, as one, just because it's Chaney's The Wolfman, or are there some that are better? Like, I love fucking Dog Soldiers. I loved Howl. This is probably at least with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It might not be, I hate saying as good. You know what I mean? But it fits with those. You want to do
like contemporaries.
If you pick either Dog Soldiers or Howl, and then put Ginger Snaps the beginning in it, that's a perfect double feature.
Yeah.
Because you have both of them. You have them stuck in a confined space, be it the cabin or what was it, either a bus or a train, and then you have these guys in the fort.
Yeah.
So it works perfectly. And that's what makes it more scary, in my opinion, because you don't know what's out there, and if that thing gets in there, you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're big.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like some werewolves where you see it's just like a big wolf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are fucking brutes, man. You know, they're big like a man. You know,
Yeah.
you're just like, fuck, man. You know what? And you know that Reverend locks the girls in with the one of. He's such an evil fucking bastard. He locks the girls in with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if there is a flaw in the movie, I would say it's that, because that just kind of gets blown over.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, he fucking locked us in with one of those fucking things. But I think what's really happening is that, you know, it's kind of no one's in, like that guy's hanging on by a thread.
Mm-hmm.
That one guy, Rollins. He's barely hanging on. The guy who's in command, whose son has been bit.
Okay.
If he is in command, it's by like a thread.
Yeah, like say like he's got seniority or something like that. You know.
Yeah, it's one major blow up in which we see several occurring, which are slowly eroding his.
Yeah, because by the end of the movie,
authority.
he's losing control.
Yeah.
You know, because there's
there's
a siege, a mutiny or whatever with everybody, because Bridget's Ginger's gone. Bridget is tied up. The priest is gonna fucking burn her like a witch. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for this guy coming out and basically lighting the priest on fire, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah. He has to kill Doc Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. He did.
He kills Doc Murphy to protect Ginger because they're threatening each other. So hey, if you tell him about my sister, I'm going to tell him about your son. You've been, which he kind of has. He's undermining everybody by not letting them know about his son. He puts everyone at risk. He gets that guy Seamus killed.
Yes.
And which causes the boy, Milo, to be cast out. The minute Seamus isn't there to protect his son, that douchebag Sergeant Major kicks him out of the fort, which gets him killed. But I mean, it's fucked anyway because they're all going to die.
Yeah, and then I that scene where he killed his son, shot him, and the poor kid fell down the well. And then it's such a depressing scene where it's from the top of the fort, and you just see them cranking up the bucket.
Yeah,
that the poor they're cranking it up, and you see the boy's body just laying there on the bucket, and they get the hook to bring it in so they can reach him, type of thing, because they got to burn the bodies.
Yeah. I was thinking this, and you were saying it a few minutes ago. I would have to, and I've changed my order recently, and I would like to do a top 5 werewolf things like we did with vampires, except I don't think there's that much to choose from.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of overlap. There'd be a huge overlap.
It would all be overlap. It would kind of be pointless. Maybe you could do a top 3. But then it would be pointless.
All right, if we had a panel, how many of us is gonna put American Werewolf in London? How many is gonna put? I'd be surprised if someone
soldiers, everybody.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna put dog soldiers.
Cheney's the Wolfman. Either you or I will probably put Howl in it just to give Howl some recognition.
Yeah, If 5, what would be my 5? I was saying all that to say this. My new number 1 is actually Cheney's the Wolfman.
Okay.
And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, or as much as anybody would think about such things.
Mm-hmm.
Lugosi, Karloff, and Cheney get all the smoke for the Universal classics,
but
we forget about Claude Rains.
And I haven't seen any Claude Rains stuff yet. I'm slowly going.
Have you seen the Wolfman?
No, I'm slowly going through that Blu-ray collection. I have one more Mummy movie to do. It's the Abbott and Costello one, so that won't take me that fucking long. And then I haven't decided, because all I've got left is, I've seen Claude Rains. Saw his version of the Phantom of the Opera, but all I got left is the Wolfman collection, and then I got the Invisible Man stuff. I haven't seen.
Okay, I have the Invisible. Oh, I have the Wolfman and the Invisible. I have everything but the Phantom of the Opera. I don't have a Universal Phantom.
It's pretty decent. But he's really good. Claude Rains is really good. He's a scary motherfucker in that.
Yeah, he is. Claude Rains in the Ryan and I went to go see the Wolfman and the Invisible Man for Fathom events for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing Universal, and he's just a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
But the reason that I moved the Wolfman to number 1 is because of the tragedy of Claude Rains. He plays Cheney's father, Sir John
Mm-hmm.
Talbot.
Mm-hmm.
And because he refuses to listen to his son tell him that something is dreadfully wrong with him, well, I won't give away the end of the movie, but it becomes a great tragedy. It
Okay.
becomes a great tragedy. But yeah, I think Cheney's The Wolfman has become my new number one. But then I guess I would have to go, and I don't know in what particular order. I'd have to go with American Werewolf, even though, like it's just played out.
I got one. I'm a newbie to Hammer, but Curse of the Werewolf.
Curse of the Werewolf is real good.
Yes.
Oliver Reed, and Oliver Reed was kind of a werewolf in real life anyway.
Yeah. And there's no werewolf until like maybe the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, that scene where he's changing in the jail cell scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, because I just thought, what the fuck would it be like to be trapped in a jail cell with a guy changing into a fucking werewolf? Like, there's nowhere you can go.
Yeah.
That scared the hell out of me as a little kid. Didn't quite have the same effect, I think, a year or two ago when we covered it on the show. But yeah, it brought back that memory. Yeah, I mean, American Werewolf kind of played out at this point. We all know it line by line. So I'm starting to look at more modern, this, Dog Soldiers, Howl. There's an interesting movie. Where is it? And I've wanted to talk about it for a while, called Weir. And I've wanted to talk about this for a while too, but we haven't had the opportunity, and it doesn't stream very often.
Okay.
It's an interesting take, but there are just, unfortunately, I'm just looking at just scowling over my collection. There just aren't that many really good werewolf movies out there.
I know, and don't get me wrong, I haven't, just because I haven't seen Cheney's Wolfman, I've seen all the sequels because with the collection you get all the ones with Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, Werewolf of London from fucking Henry Hull. Holy shit, that's a werewolf movie.
And I like the Wolf Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. That's really good. That's got a good fight scene at the very end. And I like Lon Chaney Jr. I always thought it was amazing. He's played Dracula. He's played the Mummy multiple times. He's played the Wolfman multiple times. He's played the Frankenstein monster multiple times.
I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I was just digging it up right here.
Yep.
Yeah. What have you got with this? You've got Werewolf of London, Henry Hull, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and She-Wolf of London. Okay, that I haven't seen.
I've seen that once. I honestly, it might be just because it's the product of its time. It's kind of boring.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it in like fucking 10 years. You know what I mean? I could have also not been in the mood.
Right. So I mean, you've got the siege. She's slowly transforming. The people are sort of turning on each other. Doc Murphy ends up getting killed because, the guy has to protect his secret versus Bridget's sort of blackmail. And then, there's this opportunity for Ginger to kill the boy, which is kind of an awful thought when you think you got to kill a little boy.
Yeah.
Which, she doesn't want to do it.
Right.
These are likable. They are the two most likable. I like both of them in this. I like the hunter as well.
And that's what I mean about this. Like, I liked Ginger in this. In Ginger Snaps, she was just kind of a brat. You know what I mean? I just, no, not to sound bad, but she was just a teenage girl who's kind of a brat. You know what I mean? In this, she's very, very likable. Again, it helps her with her relationship with her sister. And you feel her pain when she's always vomiting blood. She's always shivering. The makeup effects on her, she's always looking very, very, very pale.
Yeah. Or when she wakes up and the whole bed is full of blood.
Yes, one of my favorite effects is I like when Bridget's checking on her wound, and did you notice hair is starting to grow out of the wound?
Yeah.
And I love how eventually she kills Milo, but she regrets it. You know what I mean? She didn't right here. That's Milo's blood on her face. She didn't want to do it, but she couldn't help it.
Right. She's a werewolf.
And that's what I loved about her in this is like you actually felt sorry for her. She's doing what she needs to survive, as a werewolf, lack of a better term. But you know what I mean? But she doesn't want to. You know what I mean?
Right. There's some there are tragic. I mean, and that's part of the tragic, storyline that goes with the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't feel, goes with the vampire, because the vampires are supposed to be evil.
Yes.
They're supposed to be evil. Now, they can be a fun kind of evil.
Yes.
But I don't want a sympathetic vampire, because that's the storyline that's reserved for the werewolf.
Yeah, the only time it ever worked, the sympathetic vampire, was Louis for me in Interview with a Vampire. You know what I mean? He didn't want to do it, but he fed on rats. You know what I mean? But he was still an evil motherfucker when he had to be. You know what I mean? That's what I like. And okay, I just thought of a werewolf movie that no one talks about that I really like is called Bad Moon. I think it came out in '96.
Sure.
With Michael Pere, the guy from Streets of Fire? And Mariel Hemingway. Every night he would chain himself to like a fucking redwood tree so he couldn't get out and attack people. That's a good one. But the people know what they are if they don't want to do it.
Right.
But sometimes they just can't fucking help it.
Right. Because you've got to get into Penny Dreadful, man.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get into Penny Dreadful. That is, damn. That's some serious shit.
I'll find a way to stream it. Trust me. I know how to find stuff.
I'll see if it's streaming somewhere other than Paramount Plus.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it for you or something like that. But she ends up missing the opportunity to kill the boy because he gets found out by the rest of the crew, and his father has to kill him. So it's just too fucking late. And it's too late with like 20 minutes left in the movie. So you're like, the bottom is just going to drop out now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what fucking happens. For the rest of the movie, they go back out there. She ends up killing Milo.
Yes, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and because at some point, go ahead.
Well, when Bridget has her little, I don't know what you would call it, when she has her little medicine.
Peyote?
Yeah, I was thinking like Young Guns and the peyote. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she has that vision
we're in the spirit world. Hey Chavez, we're in the spirit world.
I fucking love that movie. But when she's having the visions of killing Bridget, you know what I mean? This is some weird, trippy visuals, because I think it's either Bridget or Ginger. They're already having dreams like this with the white face and the blood and stuff like that. Before the medicine woman, I guess you would say, does her little ceremony, and I had no idea where it was going. And it was creepy seeing Bridget with the pale face and the blood red streaks down her eyes. You know what I mean? But I really liked it because I wanted to see where this was going to go. Is Bridget really going to kill her sister? And because she's kind of tortured as well. Yeah. She knows she needs to, but it's also her sister.
Right, and they've already made this vow that they protect each other.
Right.
That this is like the antithesis of what they already have established for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I like how that's set up, even though it's done through like this voiceover narration. I mean, it's a movie that's been made in 29 days, so you make allowances, and they're making up for a lot of it on the back end. But they let you know in the very beginning that like they are together forever. That's it. Before anybody else, before God. It's even said. It's just them.
Yeah, remember, they're all they have, because you remember their parents were killed in a ship accident.
No. That I loved how that was a lie.
Oh, was it? I must have missed that.
Yeah, because Bridget goes, "Our parents died in a boat accident," and she was like, "Yeah, but they died very peacefully." She's like, "Yeah, very peaceful." And she's like, "Oh, okay, no problem."
Shit, I must have missed that.
That's what I mean. And that you never know where they come from.
Okay.
You don't really know who they are, because she says it to those men. When she first comes to they come to the fort, and then Bridget's like, "My parents died." She's like, "Yeah, but it was very peaceful. They didn't suffer." But I mean, it's just, if you remember in the first movie, it is Bridget who ends up killing Ginger.
Yes.
And I can't remember if that carries over into the second movie, but
if I remember just plot wise, I know because Bridget is now infected, and I don't know if she's just seen visions of Ginger in her mind as she's trying to find a cure. I think that's kind of the basic plot.
What I really liked was during that trip where they showed the one werewolf that is caught in the bear trap, and it's Ginger. But I just love. I mean, you don't get that many extended clear shots of the animal.
Right.
But there are a few that are there, and you're just like, fuck, man. Like, that's way more impressive than a lot of other fucking creatures that you see in these. You're just like, look at that shit. That's some serious shit.
They put a lot of thought and work into making these monsters look scary when we do get to see them.
And I guess because you're not spending money on transformations, you have more money, like I was just saying a second ago, on the back end.
Yes.
So you can make a better creature.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, fuck, that's impressive, man. Like these are better creatures than the creatures in Howl. I'd say.
Yes. Yeah.
I like these better than the ones in Dog Soldiers. Now, I like Dog Soldiers, but I'm not impressed with the creatures. I don't like those biped werewolves.
Okay.
I don't like a biped werewolf unless it's the Wolfman.
Okay.
And it's one of the few. And the one in Weir. And actually, when we get done with this tonight, I'm actually going to watch Weir for the first time in a while.
Okay.
And look at it again. But I like quadruped werewolves.
Yeah, it's definitely more animalistic.
Yeah.
It makes it more scary.
This is better than that Joe Johnston, the Wolfman.
yeah, that's one of your favorites.
But I mean, you've got Benicio del Toro, you've got Emily Blunt, you've got Anthony Hopkins, you've got Hugo Weaving, and it sucks. And you're just like, how is this possible?
I remember me and my wife, we saw that. I've only seen it the one time. We were, it was date night. We're like, what do we want to do? Fuck it, we'll go see the Wolfman. You know what I mean? We like Benicio del Toro, in Sin City. I like Hugo Weaving. I just seen V for Vendetta. You know what I mean? Right. And we both like Anthony Hopkins because it's fucking Anthony Hopkins. And it's a good story. But what takes me out of it is the fucking CGI. And the thing is, I thought Stan Winston was involved. If he was, maybe with the close-ups of Del Toro. But all I honestly remember is fucking CGI Anthony Hopkins like a fucking spider monkey bouncing off the walls. You know what I mean?
He looked like an orangutan.
Yeah.
He looked a rabbit orangutan. Yeah, he looked awful. I don't want to get into it because you haven't seen when you get to see the original Wolfman and you see what Claude Rains is, I'm going to Hopkins just do that.
Well, me and you were, when we were texting offline, something I'm going to do in October, is I'm going to do horror movies that I haven't seen. I think maybe that's when I'll do Chaney's The Wolfman.
That's a fantastic movie, my friend. That's a fantastic. It doesn't really get any better. One with the Universal classics, but I mean with that one in particular, and the tragedy. It's really something. It's really something. So, I mean, they come back to the fort. And Bridget has kind of run off. Ginger has run off. And, the hunter takes Bridget back to the fort. And they're all for just stringing her up and lighting her on fire.
Like a witch. I think even the priest calls her that. Yeah.
And so if you won't beg for mercy, mercy will be inflicted upon you. That's a great line for a horror movie. I mean, is it Exorcist level horror? No, but I mean, it
sticks with you.
Yeah, it sticks with you. And Ginger just comes back with all of her reinforcements and just schwacks everyone. Everyone either schwacks themselves or schwacks each other, and then Ginger just finishes up whoever's left.
When she walked in, it's a weird comparison. This is a fucking werewolf movie. When she walked in with that cloak, I was thinking I was getting Luke Skywalker Jedi vibes when he's walking into Jabba's palace. You know what I mean? He's cloaked up, he's hidden, and shit's about to go down. Because Ginger's there to save her sister. We got that bond. and she's getting the shit kicked out of her. I busted out laughing when who I don't remember who punched her, but he's like, "You hit like a girl," you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm just ready, and people are getting clawed and just eaten up, and it's a great finale. I loved it.
All the blood that you don't see in the majority of the movie is sort of saved for
Mm-hmm.
this last 10 or 15 minutes where they just kind of go for it and the wolves just descend on everybody.
Oh,
And
it's
I mean,
there's a great practical effect. I don't know which character it is, but someone gets clawed on the back, and you just see the claw marks and the slicing of the skin just opening up. And I think it's the character who had the son that was, Wolf Boy, as I'm calling him. He's just standing up, and his face is
his
shredded,
face,
and
yeah.
saliva mixed with blood just coming out of his mouth. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
again, since like you said, since we didn't have the transformation scenes, we save all that budget for the set design and for this finale.
Right.
And I was blown away because again, this is the third movie straight to video, Canadian horror, and they're usually done, super super cheap, and I couldn't tell. Her like Bridget's or not Bridget, but Ginger's form right there it's kind of iffy. It's okay. It's not fantastic. She looks off, but the other practical effects are fantastic, and
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
And they're done in such a way that they don't necessarily spend extended time shooting on one particular look.
Right.
But you see it and it's there, and it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
It's worthwhile. And so everybody just kind of gets schwacked, and Bridget ends up killing the hunter rather than killing her sister.
Yep.
Yeah, and that is the final test. If Ginger can't kill the boy, then Bridget has to kill Ginger,
Mm-hmm.
or else the land will continue to suffer forever.
Yep.
And so, we sort of know in advance, that, we're in the third movie. So, we understand what's happening in 2000,
Right.
185 years later or whatever. But, I remember the first time I saw it, I'm like, fuck, she stabbed that fucking Indian.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, because
I thought maybe he would. I thought maybe he would let them get away. I didn't expect Bridget to fucking stab him right in the chest.
Yeah, which she does with a really nasty fucking knife.
Mm-hmm.
And he just drops, and that just seals the deal for everybody.
Yep.
Just seals the deal. And we end, pretty much where we started, with Bridget and Ginger, and
Yep.
Bridget says, "I'm cold," and Bridget's like, "I'm not."
Yeah, I loved that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. She's finally accepted what she is.
Yeah. Now it's a question here, and here's my question to you: what happens from there? Does she kill her sister?
I thought I'm wondering because they focused on Ginger's hand, like her left hand, like she's cradling Bridget in her right. I'm wondering, did she cut her hand, and is she making Bridget drink blood to change her?
I saw that. It looked like they just grabbed hands, though, at the end. It looked like they just kind of held hands. So I don't know if she lets Bridget die.
I think she would rather turn Bridget so she wouldn't be alone.
I would think that, too. And so I was waiting to see if she was going to cut her palm, cut Bridget's palm, just kind of slash her.
Yeah.
Something like that, but that's the way it ends. And of course, we'd have to go back to the other two movies, which aren't as good, and you really don't want to.
Yeah.
But this movie, man, I mean,
like I said, this is a great standalone movie. You don't need to watch Ginger Snaps and Ginger Snaps 2 to appreciate and enjoy this one. Because like I said, I haven't seen the sequel, and I didn't really care for the original.
Yeah.
And this one was, we haven't ranked it yet, but this one was really good, and I was really, really surprised.
Yeah.
How much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that more people were talking about this, but if I had $1 for every time I said that, You know,
You wouldn't need to be doing you wouldn't
Yeah.
need to try to monetize YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be saying getting me to 500. I'd be calling Kylie. Hey, can I come over tonight? I'm living right next door. Bring some whiskey. It's fucking hang out.
Mhm.
So there we go. A fine fucking werewolf film, as good as I've seen in the
Quite some time.
21st century. In the 21st century, as good as I've seen in the 21st century.
Mhm.
You'd have to go back a little bit to get me to see something that's better.
Mhm.
Is there anything that we have not discussed that you would like to bring up? Feel free.
Not really, is because we talked about how great the fort looked. Just like the inside of it too. When they're eating dinner, the attention to detail. The costumes are great. You know what I mean? It's so good.
If you get the DVD, there's all that behind the scenes shit for the costume design, the set design. The dinner table is a $3,000 table.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. From the what is it? What's the North Legion Trading Company, and it has that emblem on it. Because these guys were very tightly budgeted, and a lot of things as they were filming were continuing to be cut by the production company at Lionsgate. They're like, well, we had 30 days. Fuck, they just took one off. Now we have 29. We had this money. They just slashed a little bit. They just kept getting nicked, like right on the end of things. And I guess my question is, if they can do this, what the fuck is Universal's problem?
Yeah. It shows how good a director and like a production company can be when they have days and budgets taken away and still produce something good like this.
But I didn't see that. And you had the director in there doing a lot of talking. His video diary, and it was like 8-minute videos, 9-minute behind the. It's not like some big,
right,
thing in there. But at no point did he really say that anybody fucked with his creative freedom.
That's good.
Or told him, you've got to do it this way. We need this. This. It wasn't that. It was just like, hey, you got one less day here. Hey, we're taking off a little bit of money there.
Yeah. We've talked that ad nauseum, like what happens to Rob Zombie, when the studio gets involved, or the DC universe, when they get involved and, they're just butchering shit. It's good when filmmakers are left alone.
Yeah. Let the creatives create.
Let
the creatives create. And this is what happened here. And I think we've got a pretty good fucking werewolf movie. And again, this movie is streaming on Tubi right now. Please go watch it. It's about 90 minutes. So there's not some big, bloated, convoluted story. It's very straight and to the point. And very much less is more. You don't need to see the creatures to believe that they're under attack from fucking werewolves.
Exactly.
Fucking sounds. It worked. It worked. All right. Let's get to the point in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather chew someone else's fingernails than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I discuss movies in the first place. What would you give to Ginger Snaps Back? The beginning with the lovely Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins.
I'm going to give it a solid 4. And the reason why, because like we just said, leave a director alone, a filmmaker alone. They can produce what, a fantastic type of film. They got, in my opinion, I've trashed her enough, but we got a really good performance out of Catherine Isabel because of the directing. The set design, again, the practical effects, the bond between the two characters, it's so good. I was never bored. It's intense in the right moments. When you said Dog Soldiers, my expectations were high, just because I don't think it's as good, which that might not be the right words, as Dog Soldiers. This was a really good fucking movie.
Yeah.
Solid 4, well deserved.
I think I said that to prop it up a little bit and try to
Mhm.
get some interest. Bill was going to join us, but he had to go play practice his Nickelback. So maybe at the next Grammy, that sort of thing.
But you don't think Nickelback less is more, less is better. How about
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah. How about nothing? That would be best of all. Nothing would be best. But yeah, I mean, extremely impressive.
Mm-hmm. That's the perfect word, impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. 29 days, next to no money, no A-list stars, no transformation scene, all practical effects, which grounds you more in the reality than the CGI. There's something in your brain about CGI, and you're like, that's not real.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 4. I was going to say 3.5, but I'm going to give it a 4. This is maybe the most underrated werewolf movie out there.
Yeah, I was thinking 3.5 myself, but when you realize that it was less than a month, and again, super low budget, but they used the budget where they needed it.
Yeah,
it deserved that extra half a point.
Yeah, absolutely. Please watch this movie. If you didn't think much of Ginger Snaps, you don't have to think much of the first 2 Ginger Snaps. I own them. I'm probably not going to watch them anytime soon. This one, I'm happy to come back to. The third movie, for some reason, some fluke, is the best of the 3 movies, and it is levels above.
And that says something about you, because how many times do you say after part 2 you're pretty much done?
Yeah. Well, you know something? I mean, like I said, the problem was, well, not the problem, but the way it worked out was I watched the third one first.
Okay, that's right.
I just happened to be sitting there one day on my couch, and I'm like, oh, okay, what the fuck? It was like that when I watched Underwater. It's, what's this? Okay, and then I was like, fuck, man, So next year will be 20 years of Ginger Snaps back. More people should be watching it, and if one person catches on because of this stream, then I will have succeeded. But perhaps I already have, because you've watched it.
Yeah.
So maybe if one more person.
If it wasn't for you, wanting to talk about this, and we wanted to talk about it months ago, I wouldn't have given a shit, because again, I didn't like the first one.
Right.
I wouldn't care. Why would I want to watch a fucking prequel with these 2 girls?
Right. Yeah, makes perfect fucking sense. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, there's no flaw in your argument. It just happens not to be the case. Not to be the case. All right. Hey man, plug something.
Hey Internet Eric, here is my YouTube channel. I'm still going to get that Skinamarink review. The reason why I haven't done it yet is I have to watch it a second time. Not because it's a bad film, but it's not as weird, but I'm going to compare it to kind of like when David Lynch is starting to get in his David Lynch mood.
Ooh, okay.
No, not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. But there's just you got to watch it again. So I got to rewatch that. But then, like I said,
wait. Before, I don't want to cut you off, but should I watch it? You know me.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe
it keeps popping up on my feed, like on my, because I have Fire TV. I don't have any cable. I just have a Fire Stick. So it's like next in your lineup, and it's always in there.
You got it. How about I'll send you my video on it, then you can decide from there. Okay. And then, like I said, I'm going to do Rocky and Rambo. I just dropped a Bloody Sunday video, which is where I discuss a death in a movie. I discussed Apollo, and if I just fucking spoiled the fact that Apollo dies, the movie's fucking 40 years old.
Rocky versus Drago?
I did. I have seen that. I'm going to discuss that too. I think I prefer the theatrical, but what I like about there's more Apollo in Rocky versus Drago that I like. They take out the stupid fucking robot.
Oh, really?
Which is great, but they change up some of the music, which I don't like.
Oh, because that Rocky 4 soundtrack is fire.
Yeah, so it's worth watching once at
Okay.
least, and then decide it from there. And then I've already kind of mentioned it in October. You know, I'm gonna jump into horror movies that I haven't seen. You know, I mentioned I'm gonna do Nosferatu. I was gonna do both of them, but you said I should get the one with Kinski.
Yeah.
I'm going to do The Changeling with George C. Scott because I've heard that is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I just said I'm going to do Lon Chaney's The Wolf Man, and I'll have other things thrown in there, bits and pieces. You sent me a whole email.
Yeah.
So there's lots of good ones on there.
I saw someone else, and I thought of you. Mentioned Burnt Offerings. That movie with Oliver Reed.
Okay, I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's haunted house movie. It is from the 70s, and it is
okay.
fucked up.
Yeah.
So there's lots going on. We've got in October. My own list for October, the month of October, we're going to be covering on this channel the subject of witchcraft. So we're going to be talking about films in that genre. We're going to be talking about Suspiria, not the Argento. Argento films give me a fucking headache. I'm going to cover the remake.
Okay.
Argento films, for some reason, the technology isn't up to what they're trying to do at the time, and it always gives me a fucking headache. For some reason.
I've only seen one Argento film. It was called Phenomena. It had Jennifer Connelly and Donald Pleasance in it, and I just found it fucking boring. From what I've heard, you know, I think Argento's more style than substance. You know, he likes to make pretty-looking films.
That's what Julia said. She's like, the style is the film, and then I kicked her out of the stream.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I don't care how pretty it looks. If it's fucking boring, it's fucking boring.
Gives a fuck.
Yeah, but I'm like I said, I'm gonna jump in that Suspiria one because it's fucking got Tilda Swinton in it.
Yeah, that's
and you know me, I will watch anything with that woman in it.
So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing Rosemary's Baby.
Never seen it, so I'm excited to jump. Never seen it.
Oh, that's a fucked up movie. That might be worse than The Exorcist.
Really?
Because in the sense that, like in The Exorcist, despite the fact that, you know, for all intents and purposes, Satan himself is the antagonist.
Right.
People are coming together to save that little girl. Strangers are coming together to save that little girl. So Blatty has always said, depending on what type of person you are, that's what you're going to see. If you're going to see hope, then you know that's that person. If you're going to see, you know, the devil, then you know that's the type of person you are. There's none of that in Rosemary's Baby. It is a cold, cruel movie.
Okay.
And Polanski, we were just talking about Polanski the other day.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. Fucked up people make the best art. Whether you like them or you don't like them, fucked up people make the best art.
We've said that many times.
Suspiria, Rosemary's Baby. We're going to be covering a movie that I want to cover first in October called You Won't Be Alone.
That's the one on Peacock that you told me, right?
Yeah, that's the one on Peacock. That's the one I asked you. Are you going to have Peacock for a while? And you're like, yeah, then that's the movie I want to cover. And then the fourth movie is up for grabs. I could cover Black Death.
Sean Bean, I think, right?
Sean Bean. That's a great movie.
Haven't seen
That's a great movie. Or we could cover something like The Ritual, which is a very intense fucking.
I've actually had a couple buddies at work recommend that one to me, and that one's on Netflix. So
yeah, that's a Netflix original movie. It'll never leave. Or we could cover something like Lords of Salem.
Ooh,
that's a witchcraft movie.
Here's the thing. I'm not taking over the channel. I'll say this. I've seen it twice.
I've only seen it once. It's unrelentingly bleak.
I really hated it the first time I saw it. Second time I saw it, I really loved it. I've been wanting a reason. I own it to watch it again, just to be like, what am I watching?
What's my opinion?
Exactly.
What is this? What is
so? Do what you want, but just keep it in mind.
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, we've got. And the more I think about it, I think that this is going to be the number 200. We're on 194, and I think 200 is going to fall somewhere in October. Daffy Duck's Quackbuster. It's not going to be Alien. And I don't want to talk about Alien. Alien's like an American Werewolf in London. It's fucking played out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking played out. Number 200 is going to be Daffy Duck's Quackbuster. So whatever I have to alter to make that, 200, and the others will go after, then we'll go from there.
You made my fucking night when you said that, because the last stream, you, me, and John and Marty were just talking about how much we love Daffy Duck because he's just a fucking asshole, right?
Yeah.
And you, during that stream, you fucking ordered it on Amazon. You showed me the picture when you got the tape.
Yeah.
The fact that, this is American Werewolf in New Jersey. We're very serious here, 99% of the time. You know what I mean? When we get a big group, it's usually us just fucking around. But the fact that how you always say, give me a story. Right. The fact that you're making episode 200, Daffy Duck's Quackbuster, just made my fucking night, dude.
That's a great fucking story, man.
It is, JP Cubish haunting Daffy Duck, trying to make him use his money for good.
For good, yeah. When he doesn't want to, he wants to.
It's a great moral story. You know what I mean?
He's a douchebag. The money keeps disappearing. Oh yeah. Yep. There's nothing higher in terms of animation and quality than Looney Tunes.
Yeah, Chuck Jones,
the original Looney Tunes and Mel Blanc. There's nothing higher than that. So, I feel that it's within. It has a comedic. It's obviously a comedic thing, but it's within the parameters of what the show does.
Love it,
as far as I'm concerned. So, number 200 will be Daffy Duck's Quackbusters.
Perfect.
All right. My thanks to Eric from Internet Eric here. Next, there'll be lots of videos going on, and that fucking Eddie Izzard video is still fucking blowing up.
Yeah. You're making friends here and on X.
Sort of. They know who I am. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But there'll be more videos, just content, and my video on the Soka just dropped it. I just did a video on The Equalizer 3, and that the Equalizer franchise is what Taken should have been.
Okay.
So that's up on there now. And there'll be more coming up as The Exorcist and all I'm going to see The Nun 2 on Friday.
I still got to see the first Nun. I love that Conjuring universe.
Yeah, same here.
I had the only ones I have not seen. I have not seen the Nun, and I have not seen La Llorona, and I really want to see the Nun because I just rewatched The Conjuring 2.
That's my favorite one of the three.
I haven't seen Conjuring 3 yet, but
Conjuring 3 is good. The devil made me do it. Yeah, Conjuring 3 is good. For some reason, 2 has left HBO. I got to find it somewhere. I wish there is a Conjuring box set, but it doesn't have La Llorona.
Really?
But if you go on between us, if you go on Tubi, there are shitloads of Spanish-speaking La Llorona movies on there, and they're really fucking good.
I have a friend who's Mexican, and his mom used to tell him all about La Llorona. You don't do your fucking homework, she's gonna come get you, type of thing.
Yeah, they'll fuck you up. And there's a great one about a war criminal down in Latin America who kind of gets away with it. No, he doesn't.
Speaking of Spanish movies, movies I haven't seen in October, I'm at least going to do the first Rec movie.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've got the first 3 movies. I'm going to at least jump in with the first one. Congratulations. Wow, I'm really I no bullshit. I'm really envious that you're seeing that for the first time. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be, it's got to be a night when I'm not tired, so it's going to be either like a Saturday or a Sunday night. Kids going to be something headphones. Yep, kid's going to be in bed. I'm going to have it in the dark because I know I got to pay attention to subtitles. I don't know if they have dubs or not. I'm not watching the dubs. No, don't watch no dubs. No, I'm watching the Spanish language because you get it all. So yeah, Herzog's Nosferatu is in German. Watch it in the fucking German. Okay. Watch it in the original. Please don't watch that in fucking, because he actually made 2 films. Herzog did? He made one in English. Okay. It's not a dub. He actually did one in English. Watch the one in the fucking German. It's horrifying. I'll watch whatever is available on Tubi. It's the one in German. Okay. It's the one in German. All right. Congratulations again. All right. We'll be back next week for a horror, though. Straight up live stream with the return of Rod. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say.
All
We'll be
right.
back with that. No, actually, let the cat out of the bag. We haven't decided the day yet. We're going to be covering a little blaxploitation and talking about Blackula, which is going to be an interesting watch. That's an interesting film, actually. And Rod's wanted to cover it for a while, and I'm sure he's going to remind me of it when we watch it. And I'm going to tell him the reason we didn't watch it is because he's black. So, and I don't take his opinion seriously because he's black, you know. So that's the whole reason why I haven't covered it. So now that we've let that out of the bag, we're going to move on. All the best. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet, Eric here, and we will see you in the next video.